Hello, everyone. Welcome to Piano Lin TV. This is your host, Alex,
I'm Jeremy.
and welcome to another episode. Today's special episode is humility. And in today's world, humility plays a big role in everyone's lives. And today, in today's generation, humility is kind of hard to see in people, especially when you talk. It's a busy, busy world where everyone's like, hey, I do this and I do this. And most people just talk about themselves. But what about the other person? The other person that's listening to you? Do they care? Do they really want to listen to everything you have to say? Or are you just trying to share everything you know to impress the other person? Sometimes you got to step in the other person's shoes and say, hey, this person might have something else to share too. So let's hear his story. And we have a wonderful guest today. His name is Jonathan David Archie. He is a wonderful pianist. From what I've heard, just one time played in a church, and he began his musical journey at age 12 under the guidance of the Altino brothers. His talents are mostly used for church organizations, both playing on the piano and organ. And he also works right now in finance, preparing to enter in the school for theology. And fun fact, he's one of the fastest cyclists in New York compared to 5-year-olds. Archie, welcome.
Hey, what's up, Alex? Hey, Jeremy. Great to be able to
Hello.
be here.
It's wonderful to have you here, Archie. And I can't express enough gratitude for you being here and sharing your topic on humility. So, what is humility?
Well, first off, I want to thank you, Alex and Jeremy, for allowing me to be a part of this extravagant program that you've put together all over the media channels. And from the first day that I saw you, Alex, on the piano with that a performance that you did with your duo, I mean, I was just surprised and amazed and the amount of vigor and action that you had on the keys. And the thing that I admired the most is that it felt as if I was on a movie set because it looked like you were acting, right? You were one of the key celebrities there, right? But also one of the great things I was able to admire about you, Jeremy, is how you also play upon the violin. Even though I didn't get to see you play on that day, I was watching a few of the YouTube videos from the intros that all of you had, and I was really shocked to be able to see that there is a possibility for a man to be able to have that much skill on the violin, because usually I would say that I most times saw a woman playing the violin, but my father is a violinist as well, and he loves it, but of course he desired that he would have pursued it a little longer, you know. But the thing is it's great to be able to see that there are men that are out there that are showing that it's possible to be able to still be a beast on the violin, right? Man side, right? So let's go straight to the question that you asked, Alex. And the question was simply, what is humility? Now, I was actually looking up the definition online, and I love the definition that came from the Cambridge Dictionary. And it said that it is the feeling or attitude that you have no special importance that makes you better than others. And it's also the lack of pride or arrogance for a basic definition. But using it off of the original tense of the Latin, it actually meant low. So when we look at humility, it's putting others in front of you while you remain at the back. It's not about you, it's about everyone else. And that's what I believe what it means to have humility, or in other words, to be humble.
That's a great definition. And for myself, growing up in America, everyone is about individualism, right? Everyone does things for themselves. They go to school themselves. As growing up in America, I've seen my friends in high school, and they go to work at like 16, and I'm saying, wow, 16, you're going to work and you're also going to school. That's like, they have to stand up for themselves, right? You can't just spend your parents' money all the time, and you're growing up. There's got to be a time when you have to learn your independence. And sometimes when you're doing something like practicing, right? Practicing an instrument so hard, or you're playing sports, and you've eventually reached up to top 7 or top 5 at your school, and you feel really proud, right? But there's going to be a fine line, right? Being proud of yourself, but then also showing that pride to someone else too much in a way that it can turn them off. And saying, "Hey, I'm the top 5 in my school. What are you?" That just says that your ego is too big, and that's the point when the audience or your peers will be turned off by that, and that is no way for people to look up to you, because you knock them down because you think you're the best. And just because you're the best doesn't mean you have to say, "Hey, I'm the best." People will know you are the best just by the way your actions and the way you treat people. But if you try to put yourself out there and boast, there's a reason that humility is actually very attractive in many types of people.
That's so true. That's so true. And it's so easy to feel that it's okay to, have that proud look. I mean, because that's what they promote all over media, right? You want to be able to, put yourself first. You want everyone to look at you, and they put up so much emphasis on, how many likes you have and how many people are, watching what you're doing, and everything is trying to put the attention just to put you first as the focus. But really, if we do that, it's going to actually have some effects on us in the long run. And that's what we will answer later on. But that's one thing that I observed when I was not maintaining that humility. It actually caused problems that I didn't see in the beginning, right? But usually, a lot of people actually are turned off, when it's just the desire to boast about the skill that you have and that you're better than everyone else, and that's something that we have to constantly observe and watch when we look into the mirror.
And I think, well, I wouldn't say pride is zero necessary, but I think in a way it's not as necessary as people think. And some people, I don't know, especially the people who have nothing or no skill, they try to find something to boast about. Let's say like their family is wealthy, or they're they're American, for example, right? And I mean, why they're American is because their mother who's American and father who's American do some erotic stuff, and they're American. So that's the only reason they're American. But they try to boast about that because they have nothing else to boast about. But in reality, the pride is not as necessary as people think, I think. And sometimes it gets in the way of if you want to grow, especially if you're too confident in your skills, or you think you already have enough. Sometimes you don't want more.
Yeah, that brings up the next question. How has the lack of humility impacted your playing? And I've seen this so many times. Like, I went to a conservatory, Manhattan School of Music. There's tons and tons of talented musicians. And when I first entered, I was amazed at all the talent that was around me. And it really inspired me to really work hard on my studies and learn more. And I say, wow, this is my dream, to be surrounded by so many talented musicians. And I did not know that others did not feel the same. Some viewed the same viewpoint as me, but others viewed it as a way to compete. Now there's always friendly competition, right? It's healthy. But when you turn into competition saying, "Oh, I got to play better than the other person. Oh, this guy practices 5 hours. I got to practice 6 hours." Sure, that's a good motivation, but you can't just say, "Hey, how many hours you practice?" And the other person says 6. I say, "Okay, I'm going to go practice 7." So that's kind of like, I don't know, immature in a way. Why would you tell the other person you're going to practice more than them? What's the point of that? Is it to boost your ego or to put the other person down? And what I've seen the most in people with the lack of humility is when they actually lose, when they lose a competition or they don't do so well in a performance, their effect is so negative. They're so frustrated. Second, they lose it in a way that their pride is broken and everything is just broken down to a point that they can't get up. Archie can tell us a little bit more about that from his side.
Yeah, definitely, Alex, you had that spot on. I haven't had that many individuals that I have had to have, competitions with in concerts or in programs. But usually within the church world that I'm in, what would happen is that we would usually play for other churches, and then the musicians that are of that church, they would sit back and watch us play. And so everyone is trying to to show off the skills that they have on with the runs, all those things, right? And I would try to do the same thing and trying to be able to show off, especially for the women that are watching. Right.
Please on the ladies.
Yeah, right. But at the end of it, then I realized that it actually caused a distance, as if nobody really wanted to talk to me at the end. And I really didn't have any friends because it made it seem as if I didn't need to learn from anybody. And I think that the problem that pride has is that when you feel that you are better off than everyone else, then you are thinking that you have reached the highest amount of success, because the honest truth is there's always going to be someone better than you. There's always going to be someone that's better than you. Okay. And so when you lower yourself in humility, then what that allows you to do is to be able to say, I can always go higher. But when you have no humility, then you think you've already reached the highest point ever. And obviously, you're only going to be able to go down. And so we have to be able to really, really be very careful, and that's not something that I learned over the years of playing, but it only hit me literally this year when I found out that it definitely caused a huge impact. And that was really because I did not want to listen or take advice from anyone else. And then I remember when I was playing one day, and then I just made all the mistakes in the world, right? And if I listened, and then one of the things I realized that because I was so prideful, I was trying to play louder than everyone, and everything is just everyone has to hear me. Did you hear me? Did you hear I play? Did you hear all those things I was doing on the piano? Right. And along with everyone hear me, they also hear all the mistakes. So I couldn't even blend in, right, with everyone else, right? And so we have to be very, very careful, because it does have an impact. I don't know if you have anything to share upon what you shared before about anything that happened to you, or Jeremy, if you could share anything.
Well, I guess I've seen a lot that, like I said before, if you, as you said, if you think you're already at the top level, you can only go down. And I've seen a lot of people, they win some competition or something, and then they never win another one, because they get that, even if it's not intentional, somewhere in their head, they feel too relaxed, and they don't feel that ambition.
Yes.
And then I think ambition and pride is different. I think, well, I guess ambition, you feel like you can get to a higher level, but it's not like you're looking down on other people. So I think it's good to have ambition. So in a way, like you said before, I think Alex said before, if they lose a competition, they get really upset, right? And well, I guess in a way, it's good to get upset in a way of thinking, in terms of ambition. But in terms of pride, I think it's a different angle, if you know what I mean. So you should feel upset because you want to improve, you want to go higher, but you shouldn't feel upset because, oh, maybe you thought you could beat that person but you couldn't beat that person. You know what I mean? uh and how about you, Alex? Do you have any experience?
Oh, I kind of like explained it in the conservatory, but I think I can also relate it to real life, being out in the real world. Being in school is like being around your peers, like around the age level. But when you go to workplace, there's many stories that many people have. They don't like each other. Why is that? It's because maybe the other person thinks they're better than you, or because you're a newbie. You just started out, you're a rookie. What else do you know? I know everything around here. And I think that gets into people's ways perceptions of opening up. And you shouldn't judge the book by its cover. You've heard that many times. A new person comes into work, you should always be welcoming. If you hate your job, leave it. I mean, I know there are certain circumstances financially that you're not able to leave, but don't put your own struggles onto other people. It's a way of treating others. And, there's a saying, treat others like how you want to be treated. You treat people like crap, they're going to throw a whole lot of crap right back at you. And it's just not worth it. And I think for this, you have to work on yourself, really work on yourself and use that ambition, like Jeremy said, to work on yourself, but don't try to put it onto others and show off. Archie made a good point. Showing off doesn't really get you anywhere. It could maybe very temporarily, but amongst others, there's always going to be someone better than you. That's why we don't know who's the number one pianist in the world. You know why? Because everyone has their own opinions. So it's not a definite thing that you can say, I'm the best at piano, because I know I'm not. I got so much to learn. Just because I'm in my doctorate doesn't mean that the person that's in their bachelor program, I play better than them. And I gotta admit, there are people that are younger than me that play much better than me, and I have no problem at that because they work their butt off into practicing. And everyone's born with a unique talent. Everyone learns at a different pace. So, in order for you to improve yourself, look upon yourself first before you look onto others. And if someone you feel is below your level, try to encourage them, because that will actually help them in a way that you may not have known. They may have a lifestyle that is different from yours. You can never judge a person because you don't know their entire life. So Archie, for someone who has a big ego, who has that pride, how do you think someone of that caliber is able to turn around and be humble if they've been like that for, let's just say, several years, or they've been at it for 10 years, and they have no perception of humility? Do you think they will actually turn around, or do you think that they're going to be like that for the rest of their lives?
Yes, that's a great question, Alex. And what I would love to share is first, one of the scriptures that I really take to heart is from Proverbs. Solomon, he says that before honor comes humility. Before honor comes humility. So a lot of people are rushing, to be able to get the trophy. They're putting every effort to get the trophy, but they forget about what it really means to be able to serve while you're getting that trophy. And so I believe the greatest thing that you can do is you can learn how to serve. And the best things you can do is serve without expecting anything in return, I would say. So a lot of the volunteer activities that I have done personally, they have allowed for me to become more humble. And outside of music, I started doing a lot of things that I would not get compensated for and would require a lot of amount of work for people that I know. And what I would say is, like, for example, with my church, one of the things that I do is I started, helping the community with the pantry with food. And by doing that, with the individuals that will come to the pantry, some individuals are low income, some individuals are homeless. You could really just get to their level and understand what life really means upon their perspective of life. But before that, when I was working heavily in finance, um, I was just looking at people that were successful, and I was, striving to, be at the same level as them. And they were all prideful and all, everything is about them. But then when I started looking at how a lot of the low individuals lived, I started myself, even though I didn't want to become, the same at the same income level as them, I could still have the same character as them, where they understood that, yes, they're suffering and they need help. And that's what made me start realizing, man, I need to start asking for people for help. I can't just think I know everything, like you mentioned, or have everything, right? There's always something that you can learn by serving. And it also extended when I started a piano school, and I started having to teach young children, and you have to be very patient with them, and they may not know how to play exactly how you play, but you're able to really learn how to, just love the experience. And that's what I would say for those that are in whatever field or profession. Start doing volunteer type of work, where you won't get compensated for it, and it's really going to require for you to take a lot of effort, and it will humble you. I mean, as you deal with the people, you will slowly and eventually learn truly what life really means, and how to be able to give your all for others instead of giving your all for yourself.
Those are really, really wise words from you, Archie. And I believe that, I think many people take into consideration that volunteer work, for many, I think it's because the amount of work people have. Sometimes they're saying, "Oh, I won't get paid for it, so nah, I won't do it." Um, but why is it called volunteer work? It's sharing your talents, sharing your time with the unfortunate. And this is the reason why I created this podcast.
Mm.
I'm not doing this for money. Jeremy's not doing this for money. It's something fun that we thought could help a lot of people. And it helps bring people's voices like you, Archie, and the other guests that are on this podcast to be able to share their experiences, their advice. So then when people have something to lean on, and I believe that many people that we spoke to, and they reached out to us saying, "Hey, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Jeremy, for having this platform to connect not only music wise, but life experiences that you may not learn in school." And of all the topics that have been on this podcast so far, previously from the first one to now, there's a lot of things that I myself have learned and didn't know. There's always room for improvement. So never, I never am the type of person to say, "Hey, I know everything. I'm not going to learn anymore." That's when, like Jeremy said, you're going to go down. And once you go down and you think like that, there's no stopping you. So um, I've always believed, and Archie, you're religious, and that helps a lot. There's a type of discipline that you also have to possess. And religious or non-religious people, it doesn't matter, but there's something that you can reach for. And I believe that if you have an attainable goal and you go for it, that's going to help you become a better person as well. So in all, I think humility is a big um, type of trait that many people can, grasp onto. And it starts out talking with your friends, talking with your family members, being around people, and just immerse yourself without trying to talk too much about yourself will help others respect you and admire you. Because the more you talk in a group setting, the less interested, the attention span is very limited for many people. So just remember, talk less, hear more. That's a smart saying. That's what I've heard. And sometimes I'm in a room with people I don't know and I just listen. And they appreciate it because they're sharing their thoughts. And I love to listen. And if I have nothing else to say, I'm fine because I learn a great deal just being in the group of people. Well, this has been a very wonderful
Yeah.
conversation.
And what, yeah, I would say it's amazing, you know. And even one thing I wanted to share about, I mean, listening is so important. What you'll discover is that it's in the small things that you do that determine your character, right? And one of the things, even when I go out now to eat, you know, everybody, they want to have the biggest plate, they want to be able to, you know, they, even with that, I think that you show your signs if you have humility or not, because are you the first person that's rushing to get food? I'm a person that would always do that, that wants to get the biggest plate, you know. But sometimes you want to make sure that other people, and that's really where you start falling into love. You fall in love with others, and if they feel as if they're your brothers and sisters, hey, I'm here to lift you up. Man, I will not take as much. If you're not getting any food, I'm going to make sure you eat, you know. And that's a great skill, especially with listening. People just want to be heard. A lot of people just want to talk about themselves, right? But you listen, and it will pay off. You know, people will say, man, this person, I can go to them anytime. They understand me. And that's where the honor is revealed. You understand that? And that's the beautiful thing that I would say. And one thing I wanted to share, because I was really researching this. And one last thing, it says that a study was done by University of Akron, and they said that arrogance is negatively related to cognitive ability and self-esteem. So it reduces, it's usually related to the self-esteem problems and cognitive ability problems. Now, what is cognitive ability? Is the general mental capability involving reasoning, problem solving, planning, etc. So the more arrogant you are, it usually leads to more brain problems. Just in a nutshell. Right? So if you're fine, man, why can't I learn this piece easily? If I can't, how come I'm not able to, you know, excel in my work and those things? It's usually because you have a high amount of arrogance while you're lacking and slacking, you know. So we have to daily observe where we are. Are we humble or are we prideful? You know, and that's what I have to say to close, you know.
That is a wonderful way to close, honestly. Like I couldn't have closed it even better. Thank you so much, Archie, for being here on Piano Land TV. I think when listeners listen to this, I think they want to thank you. And I want to really thank you for not just being on the podcast, but also giving Jeremy and I the humility lesson. I could see myself a little bit better this way, opening myself up and helping others. There's no limit to how you can help others. It could be just one person, it could be two people. And when I went to a grocery store, this elderly man, um, I only had like a few things in my basket, and he had a lot. He says, "Hey, young man, you want to go in front of me?" I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, thank you." And he told me that in his daily life, he wants to do three good things in a day. And he said, I'm the second one. Now he has to find a third thing to be nice to. And I find that very, kind of nice and in a way that he doesn't have to do that, but he did it for himself. And it actually, you never know the way that you treat people and how nice you are to them, how they're going to feel.
Wow.
you know that it's a powerful feeling, and it's the best feeling if you do something for someone and you don't even know you affected them, and then they go on and they tell their friends and family and say, hey, I met this guy Alex and he was so nice to me. Many people don't get treated like that. It's kind of funny in a way that um, people take things for granted, and when someone does a nice thing for someone, it's just a wonderful feeling. with that being said, let's close this podcast episode with a thank you to Jonathan, David, Archie for being here. And to our listeners who are listening, I hope you got a lot of advice. And I hope that you will reflect on yourself. And hopefully, if you don't have that much experience in humility, you can just start by maybe being nice to people. Being nice doesn't take much effort. Just say hi, how you're doing, and then get the conversation rolling. So this will end the episode. And for those who are watching on YouTube, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. If you haven't, you're watching this, give that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. And for those who are listening on our podcast platforms, thank you for following us. And, we go out with new content every Tuesday, helping others and giving you advices that, other places may not give you. And we try to bring on different types of guests on the podcast, different perspectives. So don't miss out. Thank you, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.